Hi, I'm Angelique Gonzalez, and this is my Writing to Learn journal number 8 over reading guides. Reading guides can assist with developing students' comprehension. They help students navigate reading material, especially difficult chapters or nonfiction reading. Reading guides help students to comprehend the main points of the reading and understand the organizational structure of a text. Without guidance, students may wander around thoughtlessly through a sea of print, unable to distinguish what is important from what is not, and inadequately comprehending its meaning. The TEK I have chosen this week is a 5th grade reading TEK, TEK 6A. 6. Comprehension skills. Listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking using multiple texts. The student uses metacognitive skills to both develop and deepen comprehension of increasingly complex texts. The student is expected to A. Establish purpose for reading assigned and self-selected texts. Advantages of a written guide. We talked a little bit last chapter about listing several benefits by providing students with a reading guide. And although it is true, some purpose-setting techniques can be orally used, such as posing key questions prior to reading. However, Michael C. McKenna and Richard D. Robertson argue that the advantages of a written format are easily persuaded that written guides are easily the first choice. Let's examine some benefits for why a written guide is so much more helpful. First, guides help students focus their attention on important aspects of content. A written format ensures that this focusing occurs at the appropriate time in the reading. Second, guides make the reading process active rather than passive. The immediate goal is to consult the guide and respond to it in writing. When reading is made physically active, chances are good that it will become mentally active as well. Third, responding to guides causes students to translate the material into their own words, phrases, and sentences. The process of translation is important in allowing the ideas to become those of the student rather than those of the authors alone. Fourth, guides help interrogate reading and writing. Writing enables students to organize, refine, and extend their understanding of what they have read. Fifth, written guides and students' responses to them produce a useful tool for review. Sixth, the completed guide provides students with a valuable discussion aid. And seventh, a compelling body of research evidence now documents the effectiveness of guides in improving students' comprehension of assigned reading. When should reading guides be used? Often teachers think reading guides should be used for specific readers and learners. They often set limitations when it comes to written reading guides for their students. Some limitations include that reading guides are more beneficial to poor readers, and that students with good reading skills do not need a reading guide. Also, that they are not suitable for students prior to middle schooling years. However, these are not the case. Although reading guides could be beneficial to poor student readers, everyone learns differently. Also, often students with exceptional reading skills may not understand the purpose of why we read or understand how to fully comprehend a book when reading guides could potentially help them. And finally, students can start early on when learning how to find a purpose for reading, using a reading guide to help them connect clues and ideas. Types of guides. Now, we look at the different types of guides which are useful tools and powerful tools for a wide range of readers. Some guides include hierarchical guides. This guide takes students through the proper process of critical thinking, namely by starting with stated facts, inferring other facts, and arriving at judgments and applications. Non-hierarchical guides. This guide follows the reading selection from start to finish. Non-hierarchical guides have the advantage of positioning questions at the points where they are most answerable. Selective guides. This guide states that all parts of a reading assignment may not deserve equal attention and concentration. By means of a selected guide, the teacher makes these decisions for students in advance. The use of this guide encourages students to become more flexible and selective readers by themselves. Point of view guides. This guide is a variety of interview questions that pushes a student to comprehend at more than one level of thought. This guide allows students to feel less pressure to use textbook language. They feel freer to re-express content in their own words. This guide encourages perspective talking and seeking issues from another's viewpoints. And finally, Anticipation Guide. This guide consists of a series of statements about the material covered by the selection. Students read those statements prior to the selection and indicate whether they agree or disagree. This guide serves to activate prior knowledge, centers the students on key ideas, and challenges existing beliefs of students. After looking over each of these guides, I feel that the point of view and the anticipation guides would suit best for finding a purpose for reading via self-selected text. The point of view guide could help by having a full-blown discussion after the students read the text. The idea of having them explain a point of view would help not only the students but the teacher understand the purpose they found while reading. The anticipation guide could help by having the students state what they think the book is about and give examples of their reasoning. Then, it would allow them to read and possibly write out questions from the guide they have created, and after reading them, they can come back and we discuss again what they have learned and how they connected each key idea and existing belief. One should never limit their thinking about how to construct a reading guide. The reading selection a student chooses should always be the factor when they are developing a guide to look for its purpose. You can even use any of the purpose setting techniques from the format, including questions, charts, and graphic organizers. Constructing a good guide is definitely a creative process, and I'm here to give you any suggestions for constructing a good guide. Number 1. Analyze the material. Read the selection carefully to decide which information to emphasize. Number 2. Don't overcrowd the print. Effective guides contain plenty of white space, inviting the students to make notes. Number 3. Make the guide interesting. There is no reason a guide should not motivate as well as assist. Use clear and considerate wordings. Rely on your own background knowledge and add an occasional thought, brief, interesting tidbit, or sidelight. Number 4. Review your own purpose. When you have finished the guide, read it to ensure that it captures your own instructional objectives. Number 5. Use word processing to prepare the guide. Like any writing project, the best reading guides are not first drafts. Number 6. Include page numbers or subheads. Students must know how each part of the guide relates to the reading selection. Number 7. Label the thinking skills students will need. When a guide consists of questions, consider labeling them according to the level of comprehension they require. Number 8. Include comprehension aids. Some of the formats we've discussed, such as selective reading guide, incorporate help with possible comprehension problems. You should do more than set purposes. They should also assist students through potential pitfalls. And number 9. Include questions that encourage students to think clearly about the content. Using reading guides. Now that we know how to construct a reading guide, how do we use it? Well, there is more to using a reading guide than simply giving them out for show. Construction is only half of the job. Begin with one final check of the adequacy by filling out a guide for yourself. This will help you with discovering information you may have left out. A suggestion would be to create a fun and engaging guide on a computer or any kind of web device. That way, it is easier to fix at the end. Writing is totally fine though, but if that's the case, then do several drafts. Some ways to find purpose when reading a text while using a guide include monitoring your own comprehension. If you do not understand your ideas or knowledge, how will you find the purpose for reading your self-selected text or other texts given to you? Using guides from day to day to help find the purpose of a book when reading. This will help people and students to find the purpose of their selected book when reading a guide day to day. Cooperative learning involves placing students in groups that will work collaboratively to achieve common goals. When allowing the class to come together to choose a book to read, disperse them into groups to talk about their ideas, which stimulates one another to help with guided reading and find the purpose for reading a text. This has been my Writing to Learn Journal, Chapter 8, Week 8.